Has anyone else been to Mystic Mary's fantastic Funland? There's no way I could be alone in this. My family wanted to send me to the psych ward when I told them, and I am not delusional enough to believe that if evil existed in this universe or any other, it would only have eyes for me. So I'm throwing this out into the ether of the internet. If you have ever found yourself on the outskirts of the bends of Oklahoma and happened upon a similar place, please, I'm begging you, share your story as well. I need to know I'm not crazy. I ended up turned around and on a dirt road off the beaten path. Bet I missed my turn by a hair, but I took the road miles too far, until my nearly 5-year tires couldn't take it anymore and one quit out on me. With absolutely zero signal, and with the knowledge that there was nothing back where I came from, I figured it was best to trudge forward on foot, maybe find a gas station or someone's house that would be willing to help. That's the best case, of course. Worst case would be, well, I thought, that I get chainsaw murdered and end up on a true crime podcast in a year or so. I was only walking for a mile in the darkness with my phone flashlight as the only light, when I saw the street lights up ahead, across the plains I was walking next to. The lights lined what looked like a winding, overgrown path as I neared its basking beams. I don't know who had electricity all the way out here, but running on fumes personally at the moment, I was elated when I saw the first sign and the gate. Welcome to Mystic Mary's fantastic Funland, where your imagination can run wild. The gate was practically rusted shut, and a padlock on it that looked older than me. I figured I would at least try and pull on it. Not to my surprise, the lock snapped from its rust-ridden state, and the gate swung open toward me with a low growl. The lights seemed to be motion-censored. As I walked down the overgrown cobble path, the lights flickered to attention as if excited to see me. "Hello?" I figured I would at least try to shout out. Someone had to be here, right? Who would be keeping the lights on? Dozens of metal posters with characters' faces were plastered on the buildings that lined the entry. Once, I'm sure, beloved characters to thousands of kids, now rusted over and forgotten to time. The characters would have freaked the hell out of me as a kid, so maybe it's for the best that they're gone now. There was a man who appeared to be half human and half lizard of some kind. The chipping paint still revealed such detail as his forked tongue laying on his crooked smile. One blue eye and one lifeless black beady eye glared back at you with welcoming glee. The next one, despite half her face peeled away from the iron, I could see a woman grinning ear to ear. She held a lifeless mannequin head in her hand, presented like a trophy or a hunting prize won. Behind her, in the background, hundreds of bodies of mannequins were piled up. Some even appeared to be on fire. What kind of theme park is this? The last one that hadn't lost all its paint was of 2 characters. They seemed friendly with each other as they embraced each other fondly while staring back at me. They both wore long coats, such as ringleaders wore. Her appearance comforted me. Her long blonde curls flowed down her shoulders. Her warm green eyes were perfectly manicured and ready for performance. I know they are only characters, but for some reason I felt like I could just picture her posed for the photo. The man, however, sent chills up my spine. She was posed next to him as if nothing was off about his appearance. He towered over her by at least 3 feet. He lurched over her shoulder to embrace her in a way that almost appeared possessive and spider-like. His limbs were incredibly lanky and long, and he seemed like he had nothing but bone under that coat. Even his painted hands led to black fingertips that gripped her vibrant violet coat. They felt cold and out of place. The poster was almost immaculate, except for his face, which looked like someone carved them out of the painting with a knife down past the iron. There was only dark gray emptiness where any features should have been. A cool breeze shook my spine from the bottom up and jolted me back to attention. I heard footsteps. "Hello?" I shouted after them, hoping to find some wandering janitor who had directions out of here. As I trotted further into the park where I had heard them, all the breeze stopped. The air hung with a stale stillness as I listened to the heavy footsteps come from behind the rotted carousel. As the footsteps came to a close and peeked around the corner, the creature didn't match the steps. It was a deer, sniffing curiously at the surrounding fauna. How could I be so stupid to think a deer was a person walking around? "Well, I don't suppose you have directions to the nearest gas station, do you?" I joked at the buck. He perked his head up to meet my eyes and investigate. I nervously chuckled and tried to swallow my unease as I ran my hands through my hair, debating trying the doors to the building to the left of me. "Well, you've been a great help, but I'm going to head inside." I motioned toward the building at the frozen deer standing before me. As I turned to go inside, I could have sworn I saw the deer smile at me with teeth. I know I must sound so stupid, but the feeling it was staring at me never left me, even once I was in the building with the door shut behind me. A bright light of an LED screen grabbed my attention to my left. Its presence was jarring in the seemingly long-forgotten, moldy halls. "Hi, I'm Mystic Mary," the 2D cartoon blonde woman from the entrance greeted me on a display TV. "Welcome to my Funland, where your imagination can run wild." She danced as a rainbow carried her to the screen in front of me, leading me further into the hallway. "Now let's get down to safety rules, 'cause what's the point of having fun if we're being unsafe? Rule 1. Make sure you get an adult's permission whenever you attend an exhibit. Mom and Dad want to know about all the fun you are having. Rule 2. Remember your floaties at Sammy's Swamp Extravaganza. Sammy is a reptile and can swim just fine, but you don't want him to catch all the little boys and girls who can't, now do you? Rule 3. Good boys and girls do as they're told. Make sure you take instructions from Mannequin Master Riley very seriously when you attend her exhibit. Naughty boys and girls get put on display as an example, and we wouldn't want that, would we? Rule 4. Don't, under any circumstances, speak to the wildlife. They don't like our kind here and won't take too nicely to us bothering them. So make sure to avert your eyes, especially if they show you some teeth. An uncanny photo of a squirrel smiling at the camera with crooked human teeth flashed for a moment before the presentation continued. The deer outside crossed my mind, but I quickly shook it. This has to be some kind of prank, right? Rule 5. Last and most important rule. Have a fantastic time and tell all your friends about your sky-high time on our tall as the Grand Hall Ferris wheel. It's the best place to see a view of the whole park, and of course, get a moment away from our quite troublesome host, the Hollow Man. Her face fell when she said his name, and the video ended abruptly, plunging me into the cold, black hallway again. I fumbled for the light on the side of the wood-paneled walls, and as the lights kicked on, they buzzed above me. With a neon green arrow that said Sammy's Swamp Extravaganza this way. Wait time, 0 minutes. Would the ride still be working while no one was here? Surely there had to be employees running them. As I looped through what seemed like endless hallways, the lights continued to flicker to life as it sensed my presence in the hallway. Mary's sad expression before the video ended stuck with me. It was so fleeting, but it was a pure fear, like someone being held hostage, trapped in the spirals of another's fantasies. The hallway came to a close at 2 large glass doors, both windows yellowed from age or mold, the bottom panels covered in foliage from the outdoors.
A red phone hung from the wall to the right, and my mind snapped back to reality to call for help. But as I yanked the ancient phone off the receiver, clearly there was no dial tone, and swampy, putrid-smelling water instead poured out of the receiver down the side of my head. The blank screen on the far wall chirped to life, and Mary's chipper expression graced the bright canvas.
Welcome, valued guest. You're about to take off on a wild adventure. Sammy's swamp extravaganza is one of a kind. The puzzle is simple. All you have to do is grab your floaty and travel down Sammy's stream of dreams to the end. But be careful not to remove your floaties for any reason. That's what Sammy wants, and we don't want him to win, do we? Her smile cracked after that last statement, before continuing. There was a great sense of sadness in her eyes before her posture corrected and she was beaming once more. Also remember, future adventurers, the stream of dreams moves one way. That means no swimming backwards, sideways, or zigzag, okay? No matter what your little ears hear, forward eyes and floating calmly is always the best way to beat Sammy at his own game. See you later, alligator. Her small frame was shaking as she waved by to me, aggressively. The doors to my right groaned as they peeled open, yanking up years of vines and weeds around them. The stream ahead looked like a small lazy river in front of me, still flowing steadily with water, though it was a murky green-brown color and you couldn't see the bottom. That can't be safe to get in, right? The intercom crackled overhead. Her voice was barely a whisper over the crackling of interference. "It isn't safe, but it's the only way out of here. I'm rooting for you." Mary's voice clung in my ears as a whisper of smoke as the intercoms crackled, slowed, and then halted. The floaties lay to the side, caked in old leaves and a layer of decades-old dust. I hesitantly grabbed one and trudged down the slimy steps into the murky water.
The water was surprisingly warm and welcoming. I'm shocked how immediately my feet were no longer touching the ground as the lazy river whisked me away, the overgrown buildings slipping away in my peripherals as I calmly floated down my only way out. The scratching started lightly at first. It could have been anything. My mind formed the logic it was withering branches against the overgrown sides. Then there was a loud splash from behind me, and by my gut reaction, I jolted my neck to see where it was coming from. There was nothing behind me, not even a ripple in the river. Despite the lukewarm water, my limbs felt cold and bloodless, as every part of me wished the river would pick up speed. Hell, I would take rapids over the anticipation of whatever I felt like was under the water. Something brushed my foot. I recoiled at the feeling and made the mistake of glancing down into the murky water, hoping to be met with nothing by my imagination or a stray piece of trash. But instead, a black eye, surrounded by scales, glared back at me before disappearing into the depths. I fought every single urge I had to panic and paddle quickly forward. I was supposed to remain calm. There are no alligators in Oklahoma, right? They could have gotten out of an exhibit or a zoo or something. I know from the few nature docs I've seen that they're attracted to splashing in the water, so I did my best to lay in the floaty like a statue, floating at the excruciatingly slow pace down the stream. Off in the distance behind me came a low, guttural call. "Charlie!" A low southern voice cawed. It was so distant it could have been my mind playing tricks with the wind. "Charlie!" The voice called, significantly closer and purposeful this time. The voice was calling to me. I kept my eyes forward as a pain settled in my chest. "Come here, baby. I got you." A voice came from the right, just over the hedges. I didn't look.
It sounded just like my ex-girlfriend's voice. I heard an urgent ripple and slap of the water behind me, but kept my neck locked forward this time. Luckily, I saw a neon alligator on a sign ahead that said "Finish Line." The stream seemed to recognize the end drawing near. What were distant calls of my name turned into the bushes flailing about, screaming for my help, for their salvation. The stream sounded like raging rapids behind me, as if I could expect a tidal wave at any moment to wash me away. My peripherals faded, and I locked in on the exit. I was getting to the exit. I was getting out of here. The exit sign was within reach, and I suddenly felt my feet hit the sludgy pavement below.
I couldn't have gotten out of the water faster as I flung the inner tube off me and shot glances in every direction. But nothing seemed out of place. Just the dark, calm, murky water flowing past. The night was still, and the bugs quietly sang in every direction. Just as I was catching my labored breath, what I thought was a shadow in the tunnel ahead caught my eye. It was a shadow, waving at me, with a precise and robotic wave, arm and body swaying back and forth with each beckoning wave. Must be an animatronic shadow ahead? As quickly as I noticed it, suddenly the friendly shadow was gone. Nothing but the swamp vapors topping the swampy stream remained. Was this some kind of government experiment? How the hell do I get out of here? How did they even know my name? No one has called me Charlie in decades. I had so many questions spinning in my head as my sopping wet clothes clung to my pruny skin. A fresh change of clothes stood out of place on the rusted, dusty counter. They were crisp and smelled freshly washed of cool lavender. I threw them on hastily and got the hell out of Dodge to whatever was lurking in the depths of the waters. I was hoping to be met with an exit or some kind of cringy gift shop to get out of here, but I was greatly disappointed when I yanked open the heavy metal door to reveal a massive workshop ahead of me. What looked like a mannequin-making factory floor lay before me, behind the fanes of faded, yellowed glass. Dressed-up mannequins lined the floor, all dressed to the nines in gorgeous gowns, suits, and cutesy-themed attire. Parts that were discarded were thrown about every which way like a child digging through their toy box for the right item. A black screen took up the non-glass wall in front of me, with a large button labeled Play at the bottom. The panel looked to be covered in blood, or at least some kind of sticky brown substance, but there was no body or carcass, only what looked like a discarded mannequin arm on the panel. I apprehensively hit Play, and Mary's welcoming face and warm eyes met mine on the screen.
"Hello, my wonderful companion." Mary waves while standing in a cartoon version of the room I'm looking at. "Welcome to Riley's mannequin-making experience. Make sure to keep all hands and feet on the moving platform. Riley will dress you up, fix up your flaws, and make your wildest beauty dreams come true. Make sure you watch your step when getting on the Dress to Impress platform." Mary steps on a moving platform in the warehouse and speeds forward on the cartoon platform with haste, nearing a scanning device like you would typically see for packages. Make sure you stay as still as a statue when the flaw device scans you. It can see everything. You wouldn't want to be rebuilt now, would you? Mary chuckles as the device scans her. It blinks red in disapproval. A look of shock mixed with disgust covers Mary's face. She frantically looks around as a new character steps onto the screen. Climbing down the wall almost with an arachnid-like cadence, she has a plastered, unmoving smile on her face, as if the corners of her mouth had been stitched to her ears. Though rail-thin, her clothes didn't hang from her limbs, but clung to them without an inch of give. They were sewn perfectly for her, or into her. "Mary, my dear, your arm is flawed. You know what Master demands we must do with flaws," she whispered through unmoving lips. "No, "No, Riley, you know this has never happened before," Mary pleaded as she slowly backed away from Riley. But Riley's spindly fingers quickly struck, snatching Mary's arm, and with an almost comical cartoon transition, they were in a room with a large white table. Mary squirmed and pulled against Riley's ironclad grip. "Riley, please, it's me," Mary cried out. "Mary, he makes no exceptions, not even for you," she spat out as her unchanging smile face leaned in close. In a swift, silent motion, Riley had manifested a handsaw. She sank it into Mary's arm, just below the elbow. Nothing could have prepared me for the scream that came out of Mary. It was guttural and wet. Vocal cords sounded like they had been stressed to the point of bleeding. Though the cuts only took a few seconds, it felt elongated for minutes, as if the tick of the second clock hand was in a glue trap, garbled and delayed. Though it was the most visceral sound I've ever heard, there was still such a stillness to the scene, a calmness and quiet to the environment that sent hairline cracks through my will. Mary's screams reduced to a heaving pant, and through whimpers and light moans, she was trying to tell Riley something, though Riley's expression never changed or skipped a beat. Riley pulled out some kind of prosthetic. If I didn't know any better, it looked just like Mary's old arm, pale and feminine with manicured pink nails and a soft appearance. Though Riley covered the cutting scene, for a moment before she fixed the new arm onto Mary, I got a peek of the wound. Mary's arm was gone, raw ligaments and blue veins showing through. The white of the bone was clouded by blood and bone marrow oozing onto the table. Mary looked up with a pleading gaze at Riley one last time before the screen went black. Through spitting words and gritted teeth, she said something else that made Riley's smiling face snap to her attention, and for the first time I saw Riley's expression slightly change as her eyes narrowed toward Mary in a menacing glance. The screen abruptly cut off, and I stared back at my own reflection, mouth slightly agape with my tongue dry in my mouth. To my left, I heard a buzz of machinery whirring to life as the moving platform kicks on and begins moving forward. After what I just saw, I can't imagine a scenario I would willingly get onto that thing, but something, not so deep in the back of my mind, is telling me I have no other choice, and I never really did. Something lured me here or brought me here, and even all these monsters seem like they're all terrified of their leader, the Hollow Man. After watching the conveyor pieces click forward into place for what I'm guessing was several minutes, a light crackle overhead jump-started my attention. "Charlie, just do as you're told," Mary's now raspy voice whispered urgently over the intercom. "I got a trick up my sleeve. Well, I guess where it used to be." Her soft, chuckling voice trailed off, leaving me once again in the static silence.
Mary, where are you? I can help you. We can both get out of here, I said on a whim. Stupid, I know. I'm talking to a 2D character. But every atom of my being didn't want to go into the room, and I was just getting plain desperate. Before I allowed myself to start panicking, I just did it. I stepped onto the creaking, moving platform and into the mannequin room. The room seemed so cramped from the outside, but moving in revealed what appears to be a small city-sized warehouse with never-ending shelves, platforms, and mannequin parts. This illusion was made by mirrors that were on every single flat surface, it seemed, giving the room a never-ending echo feeling, though most of them were dirtied with a brown sediment or cracked beyond repair at this point. The smell was that of a wet, sticky iron. It hung in my nose and stung the back of my throat. As the conveyor clicked along, the sound would echo for seconds out into the warehouse. The floor became farther and farther away, it seemed.
It was only clear how high I was up due to the piles of mannequin parts I could see on the ground below, even though I swear it looked like some of them had blood on them. Up ahead, I saw what I remembered being the flaw machine. It was incredibly larger in person than on the video, a massive piece of clanking machinery that made the room feel increasingly claustrophobic and small in its presence. It was whirring to life as I came into view. The makings of the machine were something I had never seen before. It looked straight out of a sci-fi movie. Blinking lights shone in all colors, which lined up with crossing wire panels, all of which makes their own unique sound, whether that be a beeping or a hissing. The sounds were so overwhelming, I couldn't even bring myself to have a thought form in my head besides terror as the mouth of the machine lay open for consumption. The whirring was deafening as the inside of the machine's blinding lights scanned me. I struggled to remain still as the instructions stated. The whirring sounded like a spaceship, encompassing every distracting noise into one, almost like it was attempting to overload my system is the best I could explain it. I felt like I was a child again, or more so that dread you felt when your nightlight went out as a kid, that torment you felt when you woke up from a bad dream and no one was home to distract you. It was trying to trick me. It was trying to get inside my head. Suddenly, the machine came to an abrupt halt. The ringing in my ears continued, and the spots in my vision fluttered as the platform spat me out on the other side. Tones whirred around me still, as if the machine was thinking itself. The platform itself jolted to a halt, and a screen next to me blinked to life. Where I hoped Mary would be was a crude outline of a human form. Well, my human form, to be exact. The lights all blinked green, and the light to the left of the screen turned to a bright green fluorescent light. I had passed, with no flaws. My sigh was palpable as my breath finally caught in my throat. Was this it? Something caught my eye on the far side of me, like a flash across one of the mirrors. The noise in the room came to a complete silence, as if they had all stopped thinking at once. The looming dread that came to me informed me that my journey out of this reality I was spun into was far from over. Inhuman fingers as thin as nails curled over the platform beneath me, metal scraping and pulling what I'm assuming was Riley onto the platform to face me. I know I should have just jumped, but something about her presence when we locked eyes was turning my muscles into stone, as if liquid glass had been poured into my veins and hardened. I felt that if I moved, I would crack. She was beyond anything I could imagine or really even describe, but I'll try. She loomed over me at least 7 feet tall. The visual skin on her body hung away from the bone like there was no muscle or tissue left underneath. The wrinkled and cracked surface of her skin was caked with makeup, as if any amount of makeup could cover the deep crevices and stretched skin lined with staples holding it in place, making a permanent smile. Her eyes were sunken back into a receded skull, rimmed with caked makeup and dried brown clumps of blood. The eyes themselves were different sizes and colors, though she could clearly see out of them. They certainly didn't belong to her.
"No flaws," she hissed at me, her mouth unmoving. The voice she spoke with seemed to be coming from behind me, beside me, inside of me. Her arm wrapped around the back of my neck and her sharp fingers grazed my cheek. Her flesh was sticky and clung to me like a snake. "My perfect doll, perfect ones live with me." She leaned in closer as her beckoning words bounced around my skull. She stunk of makeup and stale old plastic. I fought with every breath as my lungs tried to betray me, as I begged my brain not to panic. "You want that, don't you, beautiful?"
she cooed, and her needle fingers dug through my hair and into the back of my neck, craning my head up toward her glass-toothed smile inches from my face. I felt the prick turn into a gouge in my neck, and I let out a whimper and closed my eyes. This was it. I was going to be an accessory on this demon or whatever shelf. I prayed she would at least make it quick. This was the first time in my life I think I'd truly ever thought about dying, and I can promise I'd never thought it would be like this. A loud screeching alarm snapped through the moment. Riley's hand lurched off me, and the force slammed me off the conveyor. It was a shorter drop than I had thought, but still just as unforgiving. I smacked onto the marble floor, and all wind left my lungs. My blurred vision as I gained my bearings saw Riley scattering full speed on the wall toward an air vent, like she was taking cover. I didn't waste a single second before scrambling to my feet to try and find an exit. I stumbled over mannequin parts along the way, some of them squish under the pressure of my feet and oozed substances. The red exit sign glowed ahead of me, and I made a break for it. The door was shockingly light, and I lost my footing on the dusty carpet of the lobby to the exhibit, sliding across the old rug and finally taking a single moment to listen to Mary's voice over the alarm as I pulled myself upright. "My dear patrons, remain calm. The Hollow Man will be making his entry shortly. Please locate the nearest stairwell and make your way to the highest point of all buildings. For those who are already safe on our sky-high Ferris wheel, remain in your seats until the alert has subsided. Remember, the Hollow Man hates heights, so they are your best friend in his presence. And lastly, may your God help you if he finds you." Mary's voice trailed off into silence until the alert started over again.
I made my way outside, where the thick fog greeted me. The air felt gummy to the touch, and an unease and silence clung to every surface, as if every object in this park was scared to move a muscle. I sprinted back toward the front of the park, past all the posters, past all the flickering lights. The gate was gone. There was nothing but a brick wall in its place, a path leading up to a dead end. My lungs stinging from running, I ran to the nearest screen I could find. She was my only hope. "Mary! My God, Mary, what's happening? How do I get out of here?" Silence. "Mary, who's the Hollow Man?" The TV glittered to life. Mary sported a new coat that covered her arm, with bloodstains visible from the outside of it. "This is his world. We're just surviving in it," she whispered. "You should be getting up to somewhere high like the Ferris wheel. I already tried to tell you. I've already talked too much. They can't see me like this." A shadow whisked into frame behind her, and before I could even get the words out to warn her, a rotted hand gripped her coat, tossing her to the side with such force that Mary barely had any air to shriek. The Hollow Man stepped into frame. His form didn't all fit in the confines of the screen, but I could see how large he was. He wore a rust-red jacket like Mary's, but his was caked with mud and dirt, like he had crawled out the earth with it on. His fingers had way too many joints and turned to a haunted, dead black color at their tip. His frame looked toward what I'm guessing was Mary, and then knelt down to meet my eye. I had the ignorant thought for a moment, maybe he couldn't see me or speak to me like Mary could. Though he had no eyes, I know he was seeing right through me. Various slits in his face is seemingly where he was breathing from. They pulsatile with his breath. Even in the grainy animation, I could feel his malice. I don't know why I couldn't imagine him doing what he did. If Riley and Sammy could be there in the flesh, why couldn't he? A massive black hand reached out of the screen to grip the sides of the TV. I spun around and galloped in the opposite direction. I could hear the plastic bending and the TV sizzling with its transition. I needed to find the Ferris wheel. My feet sprang off the pavement as fast as I could pick them up. I heard an unearthly scream come from behind me. I didn't bother looking back. As I trudged further and further into the park, the fog grew thicker. The asphalt ground turned into a packed dirt path. I heard another screech in the distance, followed by heavy movement from either side of the path in shrubbery I couldn't see due to the fog. I just held on to hope it was friendly as I clung to the rest of my energy. A tall red pole stood in a forked road in front of me, with a wooden sign pointing to the left, Sky-High Ferris Wheel.
"Charlie!" Mary's voice called from behind me. I whipped my head around but saw nothing around me, just the dimly lit fog path. "Mary!" I called out into the echoous trail. "Charlie, I need you. Come help me." Mary's voice sounded closer to me now, as if it was coming from in the woods. "You clever fuck," I thought to myself. "This isn't real. This isn't real. You aren't real, you stupid fuck." "Oh, I can assure you, we're very real, my doll, and if you can hear us, I regret to inform you, you're already mine." A deep, sultry voice sounded off from inside my head, vibrating the backs of my teeth. I spun around to continue down the path, just in time to see the hollow man stepping out from behind the red pole. It seemed as though he was unfusing with it, as if he could slip into and out of any form or shadow. The slits across his skin had also revealed large gaping holes through which his raspy, gasping breaths seeped out as he tilted his head toward me. A long hiss expelled out of him as he dove across the path at me, narrowly missing me and grazing the backs of my heels as I drove on. The wheel came into sight seconds later. I flung my body up the exposed maintenance ladder on the outside. My sweaty palms never gripped harder to the rusted rails as I made my way to the nearest caged cab. As I threw myself into one with a clanking thud, I looked down to see the hollow man running toward the clearing at the foot of the wheel, running on all fours like some kind of broken bug. His long legs snapped over his spine and neck every time, giving him the gait of the spider. As he locked onto me at the bottom, I heard a distinct screech of pain from him, and alarmingly, others followed, echoing his cry from within the wooded trails I just came from. I expected him to wait there, unmoving, but he quickly turned away and retreated back to where he came. My chest stung with the overexertion. I put my head between my legs, looking through the grates in the swinging cab as I focused on the metal platform underneath, at least 30 feet below me. What in the hell was I going to do? The small, dinosaur-aged video screen in the cab flickered to life. Though the image was blurry, Mary stood waiting for me to meet her eyes. "Charlie, you made it!" She smiled sweetly and had the most maternal sense of relief in her voice. "You live here with them too? Is this just a trap?" I snapped back at Mary and instantly regretted it since her face fell into a scowl and her eyes wandered off as if trying to get lost. "We all started off where you are, Charlie, and we chose to stay," she pleaded. "All of you? Even Riley and that lizard thing?" "We become our true selves here, Charlie." I asked the question I should have asked from the beginning. Why are you even helping me?
"I'm tired, and the crew has grown tired of me over the years. They're looking, well, for a new me. At one time, I was their perfect doll, a fresh face for the team and for the newcomers who came in the park. I'm old news now. I have flaws. They want someone new. Usually, the newcomers are just games to them, but you're different. You listen, you're persistent, and you're smart. You are what I once was. They want you to stay." Her tired eyes fell to the floor before she continued. "The Hollow Man will come back, and he will show you things I can't explain. But when he returns, I promise you, you won't be getting out of here, and you will go willingly with him. I can't let that happen if I can help it, if it's the last thing I ever do." "What's my way out then?"
I eagerly leaned closer to the screen. "Jump over the wall and out of the park. The veil doesn't go far out. I've led many others this way, and I never saw them again. So either they made it out, or, well, they never got trapped here." Does this bitch just want me to jump 30 feet to my death? But she is right. Is death really the worst scenario out here? I wouldn't waste any time, Mary tapped on the glass hurriedly. I really do wish you the best of luck, and I hope I never see you again, although it's been a pleasure to have you at Mystic Mary's fantastic Funland. She smiled big at me, and I gave her a grin back. I focused in on the spot on the ground I was going to jump to. I unlatched the door of the cab that swung open with a rusty growl. "If this works, thanks for all your help, Mary," I sighed and gave her a friendly wave goodbye.
Wait, before you go," Mary cut in, leaning in closer. "Do you mind telling me what year it is?" Her smile grew large and desperate. It's 2021, I answered. Her smile wavered, and she stumbled back slowly. "Oh, wow. Time. It really does fly," she tried to force out cheerfully as her voice cracked. Gripping her injured arm, she pulled it up to wave goodbye, all while clearly trying to force a smile, though I could see her lips quivering and a tear falling down her face as the screen shut off, leaving a black mirror and my disheveled reflection in its wake. I hugged the back of the cab, and before I let my body panic, I flung myself as far as possible out of the cab and over the massive brick wall that surrounded the park. I wish I had some cool, badass story about how I hit the ground running and ran all the way back to my car. Instead, I remember hitting the ground, and suddenly it was light outside, when just before it had been a foggy, middle-of-the-night glow. Everything ached and hurt, and I felt dehydrated and sunburned as if I had been out in the sun all day. But I limped my way back to the road. I was able to flag down a stranger to get my car fixed up, and I hightailed it out of that town. Years later, I first opened up to my sister and best friend about what happened to me. My sister, of course, thought I was crazy and immediately told my manic mother, who wanted to commit me. I had to talk her off that ledge, and I showed her the scar on the back of my neck. It was a few inches long. It's where Riley had gouged into me before the alarm. My mom stated that it was from an accident I had while camping when I was 15 and I needed 10 stitches. I didn't remember any of that, and we never went camping when we were kids. This last summer, I finally got the nerve, and I took some time off and went back to the town it all happened in. Thought maybe I'd ask around. Worst case is they don't want to talk to me or they don't know anything. No one seemed to know what I was talking about. No one had heard of Mystic Mary's. No one had even heard of a theme park within hundreds of miles, being present for as long as anyone can remember. My last night in town, I asked the bartender about the park as he handed me my beer. He chuckled and told me I must be pulling one on him because there's nothing like that around here and never has been. But a woman from the nearby pool table came up to me as he turned back around, as if to pass off a message in secret. My sister loved that park. Sammy was her favorite. She looked terrified to be telling me any of this, and before I could press her more, she was running out the door. That's the only lead I have on this damn place. I've given up on telling my friends and family who don't believe me and don't care to. I've chosen to pursue the endless void of the internet instead. Please, tell me, has anyone else been to Mystic Mary's or any theme park like this? One that plays tricks, one that seems like it's in a reality of its own? Even if no one knows, maybe this can be a warning to others if you come across something like this in the future. Please, just turn around and go back the way you came, because I can assure you, you are welcome at Mystic Mary's fantastic Funland, but you will not be welcome to leave.
Before you go, I want to thank everyone for watching the 7th episode of the Null Narrations Post-Cast. And I want to give a big thank you to Reddit user deathsfavchild for granting us permission to narrate their post from r/nosleep for your viewing pleasure. As always, all the links to the original posts we cover will be in the description box below. If you have a scary, spooky, or otherwise unexplained encounter that you would like to share with the viewing audience, please contact us on Reddit at Null Narrations or in the comments below. Thanks again for watching. Like and subscribe for more. And remember, take care of yourself out there, or something else might just do it for you.